Good evening, Franklin. It's so nice to see you.
Thank you, Professor Hector. It's very nice to see you as well.
Today is Wednesday, April 5th. It's 7:35 p.m. This is the second of two interviews for the oral history project that I'm working on. So just a little background, I'm going to first begin with your biography, a little explanation of the project, and then we'll get into some more questions to continue our conversation from last time. So Franklin Nouketcha is originally from Bangate, Cameroon. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
Getting better. And now lives in Silver Spring, Maryland. He moved to the United States in 2007 and was a student at MC from 2008 to 2011. He speaks English and French. After earning an associate degree at Montgomery College, he continued his education at the University of Maryland College Park and recently earned his doctorate degree in electrical engineering. Bravo! And today, I should say Dr. Nouketcha works as a researcher for the Department of Defense. And in his spare time, Franklin enjoys visiting new places in the United States. And a little background for anyone who's watching this recording, if you have not watched the first recording, my name is Heather Bruce Satcham. I teach an ELAP, English Language for Academic Purposes at Montgomery College. And this interview is part of a project called History in the Making, documenting stories of immigrant and refugee students at MC. So once again, thank you so much, Franklin, for being here this evening and continuing to tell me about your story. So first, could you state your full name for me?
My full name is Franklin Nouketcha, and it's a pleasure for me to be here as well. So thank you for having me.
And do I have permission to record this interview?
Absolutely, yes.
Great. So I wanted to follow up with a few questions related to our first interview. One of the things that you told me was that when you first came here, your first job was at McDonald's and it did not go well. And now here you are a few years later and doing so well. You've completed your doctorate. You have a great job. I would love to know about the journey from when you first got here, not being able to speak English very well, all the way up to what you do now. So let's start with when you first came to Montgomery College. How did you hear about Montgomery College? Like, who told you about it, or where did you hear about it first?
So those are excellent questions. So when I first came in the United States, I was not sure about my academic path. I was afraid by the cost of tuition, and I wasn't aware of the different programs like the FASA to help me out. And then there were, not to deviate from the question, there were two institutions that I wanted, that were proposed to me. There were PG Community College and Montgomery College. So those are the two institutions I had a choice to. But somehow, my sister that was already enrolled at Montgomery College convinced me that Montgomery College actually is a much better institution compared to, I mean, I would not come, I don't know how she managed to.
So your sister recommended Montgomery College to you.
Montgomery College, yes.
And she had a good experience at MC as well then, if she recommended it to you. I think you mentioned that several of your siblings went to Montgomery College. So first your sister, what is her name?
Kevin was my big sister. She was in the United States before us. So before we migrated. So yes.
And then after then you and then some of your brothers also attended Montgomery College?
Yes, it was me. Lionel and I actually started attending at the same time.
Oh, nice.
I think so. Lionel and I started attending at the same time. Sandra, which ended up attending much later on, where in high school, Eleanor Roosevelt High School in Greenberg, I think so. And Cedric also, who attended Montgomery College, was in Greenbelt Middle School. So
a whole family who had the Montgomery College experience. And when you first got to MC, you were placed in the English Language for Academic Purposes program. At that time, it was called the American English Language Programs. The name changed. How did you feel about being placed in a program to improve your English? What feelings or emotions did you have at that time?
At first, I think I was aware that it was not college level English. So I felt like, well, if I was probably higher, then I could move faster.
Mm.
But with the time, I learned so many things. The grammar, most of the foundation of the grammar that I'm still using my writing to this, in my research writing, it's coming from Montgomery College. So I was
That's
not
great.
supposed to mess around with comma plus, run-on sentences. That was not forgivable. I mean, those couldn't be forgiven. So it was a good experience for me. It was great. And then when I went on to college English, it was definitely more intense, and definitely I could appreciate the lower level courses that I completed. Yes.
And did you feel like the program prepared you for your college level, credit level college courses?
Oh, of course, of course. I couldn't write those big academic research paper or those literature review or those book review. I still remember my English 101. It was difficult at the beginning. I couldn't get A unless I had to take my classmate paper and see how it was structured, how long it was, what was the expectation from the teachers, and improve later on. But so initially I just struggled, but at least on the grammar part, I was doing well on it. So it did prepare me.
That makes me happy to hear. Do
Thank
you
you.
have any special memories of Montgomery College? Any faculty members that were important to you, or any experiences that you remember that were important to you?
Yes, I think I spoke about my math placement test. That was one of the happiest moments or happiest memories of Montgomery College. Then in terms of faculty, definitely I wrote to you after completing my doctorate study because it was, I don't know, I just felt connected so much with Montgomery College. It was like,
I was so happy to receive your email.
thank you. It was my nursery school. It was like my nursery in the United States. I don't remember the name of my first English professor. I think it was Professor McCoy, but I remember Professor Mendel for Region 102, before getting you to Region 102, Professor Nzimen for English 102 and English also 104. Then going to transfer into Rockville, where I was completing most of my scientific courses. I also met some great faculty, Professor Alex who was my teacher, and actually who introduced me to the STEM program at MC. That was great because from the STEM, I could get a few scholarship that actually went on enough to help me even in College Park. So Montgomery College for me is I'm thinking of giving back at Montgomery College because I'm so grateful for what I've benefited from academically or also from the teachers.
Very, very happy to hear.
Mhm.
When you were at Montgomery College, did you take any, did you find that any resources were helpful to you in your learning? I'm thinking about the Writing Center or academic success centers, tutoring, things like that. Did you make use of those?
Yes, I make use of the tutoring center, especially for English. They were great tutor. I still remember one of my experience where I was supposed to do article, right? So, you know, when you have defined on undefined article on A and the, so there were sentences where I was supposed to fill them. And then I went to tutor and they would say, okay, what should go here? And then I went over the whole list, so I'm kind of guessing, like it was no. I was just and then just keep on guessing. So
Articles, and the, they're very challenging.
Yes, those variations. So you're supposed to say, okay, this is the name defined in the content, depending on the content, have to put the right. And then the tutor were fantastic, right? They were kind of making us think. They were well equipped as well. So they were very good experience, actually.
Did you go to any of the other academic success centers for math or science or social studies, any of the other disciplines?
Oh, I did use a lot when I was doing, it wasn't African American, it was sociology.
Mm.
It was a very difficult course for me to understand, to grasp. Perhaps I could attempt those courses again today because my proficiency in English has improved. There was the history courses that I wanted to tutor, but I had to drop it. It was a summer course. It was history, American history.
It's
It
tough
was
when you're taking summer classes, they're so fast paced.
yes, it was so fast. And the thing is, for example, my history teacher will ask me what was the reason behind the Civil War, right? And then for me, I know it was the freedom for slaves, but that's the basic answer that everybody knows. So you have to be kind of do political science, which is a field that I'm completely not comfortable with, to kind of see what could have motivated, the South to probably fight, the South to fight for slavery, or what could have motivated enough to free the slave. So those are the kind of
Yeah. And I think it can be difficult when you come from a different country and a different culture to know about American history and culture. You did not learn that in high school the way that many native-born Americans
yes.
Had exposure to those topics. So I can see how that would be challenging for sure.
Mhm.
If you met a new student who is just starting at Montgomery College, what advice would you give him or her?
Definitely perseverance, and it's just that the future is bright. That's all I could say. Like the future is bright. When I just study, I just somehow I trusted because I knew school was the way, but I couldn't really see why. So, but I knew that it was important to get a good education, and I just studied blindly. I was so scared to get the bad grade, aiming for that 4.0 or just we were living for that. Oh, I couldn't get 4.0, of course, but getting the genius at least, that's what motivated me. So my advice would be, of course, focus on your academic, and then especially if you are an immigrant and you are just come to United States, it's very easy to start a job and not be able to attend school. In my case, for example, whenever I had to pick between school and my job, I knew that school was the way, and I have no regret. So go to school after all, even if you have to take a loan, do it, but just make sure that you apply yourself to whatever you are doing, and you will be successful.
Did you make any special friendships when you were at Montgomery College? Are you still in touch with anybody from those days?
Yes, the world is a very small world. I remember walking the street of Silver Spring, and a friend of mine that were in Bangante House actually called me. Hey, stop!
From your hometown.
My hometown, and that was back in 2008. He came to
Wow.
my graduation. He told the story to my parents at my graduation party, and it was an amazing story. So yes, there were connections, and then we were mostly taking English classes. So most of us were foreigners, so I had a good friends there. But when I went to Rockville, I also had the opportunity to meet a lot more students from India, for China. Those are the people we were doing math with, physics with. So I still have connection with a few of them.
That's nice.
I know one working for the FDA now. We were invited back to Montgomery College once. I met them. So it's it's always good to meet them. Yes, I do.
I think one of the things that makes Montgomery College so special is that there are students from so many different places. So we always have the opportunity to learn about different cultures. So, you having friends from India and China, it's like your world just keeps expanding, right?
Really, yes, yes.
What do college students who are originally from the United States, who are born here, what do they not understand about the immigrant experience, do you think?
Oh, what? So okay, so I've had a chance to meet a few native. They were, very smart. I thought so, especially at Montgomery College when I was taking my chemistry class. There was one of them that was very smart, and I will say kudos to the few that I've met, because somehow they share our story. When I speak, they try to understand what I'm saying. And sometimes it's difficult because of my accent, but they try to listen. They have that patience to listen to us. And I've always been treated fairly by them. So why is it that they do not understand? Probably they don't know what we went through. They don't know how, we are in a diverse country, or maybe in a diverse region. So I didn't expect a lot of clashes. So we knew how to respect each other. So that's most of the thing I can say. I have
I
to.
think what you just said about them maybe not understanding what you've been through. Can you say more about that? Are you referring to perhaps the culture, get adaptation to a new culture, the challenges associated with learning a new language? What sort of
So
things that
then,
would you specify when you're talking about what they don't understand or what you would like them to know about your experience?
yeah. So I mean, one of the things that definitely I'm not compared to me. So for me, one of the things is like we come from, I believe, from a much difficult system, hardship, poverty. We don't have much choice. So that's one of the things that they should probably know about our culture is that when we come very little, some people say we are coming to heaven because things are much organized. Things are good. So one of the things that they don't understand, sometimes I feel like you guys are not really seizing the whole opportunity that your country is giving you.
Interesting.
That was my big feeling about America. I was like, okay, if I had a chance to be born here and I had the same dedication, I mean, I would have taken more advantage of the opportunity in place.
Interesting.
So that's one of the most feeling I've had. But some of my friends were very brave, very, like I said, very smart. And the language too. And this is something that I had to tell my English professor at Maryland and say, well, you have to learn French. I don't think that you will do as well as I'm doing in English. Just to get some emotion mixed to it. So that,
I think that's a good point because many Americans are not bilingual and maybe don't have an appreciation for how challenging it is to take college level courses in another language. I think that's a really good point. How was the transfer process from Montgomery College to the University of Maryland at College Park? Was it relatively simple to transfer there? Was it complicated? How did you feel about it?
So it was a simple application following the crowd, basically. So my friend, it was time to apply to College Park. Oh yeah, let's just do it. And then I do it. And then I was admitted as an undergrad, as a transfer student. I did not even, I mean, they say, yo, the admission is out. Just let's check. And then we check. And then I say, oh, I was admitted. I mean, they told me, yeah, Frankie, we know you're gonna get admitted. So that was one good news. But the same, I think that was in 2011. I started at College Park in the fall of 2011. But before that, in the summer of 2011, I was very lucky. When I say very lucky, to have an internship at College Park in the engineering department.
Oh, interesting.
So, and I think that's what have opened the door for me. Yes, so I went to that internship. I graduated from Montgomery College, and then the next semester, I was taking classes at College Park.
And tell me a little bit more about that internship experience at the University of Maryland at College Park. What were you doing in that internship?
Yes, so the internship experience, I remember my professor because she ended up becoming my professor. She came to MC to advertise for, they were called Summer REU, Research Experience for Undergraduate. She was advertising or presenting the program, the summer program. It was so interesting for me, but I felt so out of reach because we were at least 100 students from Montgomery College attending that session. And I was sitting there, it was interesting. And I said, well, what can I do? And I just put in my application.
And the door started opening for you.
Yes. I was so lucky to be selected. It was students all over the country. I was working on micro robot control, and that's when I started using MATLAB intensely for some purposes. So, and then from there I started. After the end of the summer, I went to school too. I will continue at Maryland. Yes.
So you studied engineering, and is that what you got your degree in for your bachelor's degree?
Exactly, electrical engineering.
Electrical engineering, and then you continued and got your master's degree. Is that right?
Yes.
Also in electrical engineering?
Correct.
Wow. And then you decided to keep going.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about your doctoral studies. And I might not understand what your dissertation was about, but if you could try to explain in simple language for
Mhm.
non-engineers a little bit about your dissertation, I would be very interested to know about that.
So for those of you that are interested to know more about my dissertation, you can actually see it on the website of University of Maryland. It's being published.
Oh, that's
Uh,
fantastic.
so you can read, you can read my abstract. The abstract is meant to summarize it. So
Right.
basically, I am studying different material that we are considering for the modernization of electronics, from medium power to high power. So the material that is commonly used is called silicon, and it's just intrinsically limited because it cannot operate, for example, at high temperature, it fails to operate. So we're looking at a new class of material called wide bandgap and even ultra wide bandgap material so that we can use that bandgap to do more, to get more power and to be yes. And the question is, what material will you pick for a specific application? So that's when I study what we call a figure of merit of those materials to kind of rate them and see how good they will be for a specific application.
Wow. I'm very impressed. And I really don't have a follow-up question for that because I know nothing about that topic. I wish I did. But tell me, if you could tell me then about how you then got your job at the Department of Defense. How much time passed after you defended your dissertation and finding your current job?
It was relatively easy. One of the things that I'm so proud of is that I was able to compare all my studies without getting a loan. And this is one I want to thank the Department of Defense, because when I started graduate school, my academic advisor, Dr. Neil Grossman, he was a it's a good man. So at the start, he asked for my resume, and then he forwarded to my current boss, my current team lead, actually. So it took a year. Is that a year or at least a semester? And I hear from them, say, well, we got your resume and we want to interview you. I had a good friend at College Park, so I felt like, oh, this is a big deal. I wasn't sure. But I had a friend in College Park that told me that you are going to get this job. I wasn't sure. So I was interviewed. Oh, are you there?
Did I disappear? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
I can see it. Yeah, I can see. If you can see me, that's fine. I can't see
I can
you.
see you. Can you see me?
Nope. But I think it's my screen. Don't worry.
Okay.
I can do it. I can still do it this way.
Okay.
So so I was talking about how I got to the Army Research Lab. It was back in 2014 after an interview with them. So I was a contractor for them, working for them part-time while working on my degrees. And when I finished my doctoral, I was actually lucky because I also got a job offer from Texas Instrument. But I had something, I had a leverage to negotiate my salary. And then I decided to start the Army Research Lab for a permanent employment.
Do you enjoy your work now?
Yes, it's enjoyable. Yes.
Do you think the American dream is real then?
Yes, the American dream is that we have way more in a better country. Yes, you have to know how to ask for it. That's true. I think the American dream is real. Yes, but the thing is that every stage of life, I mean, it's real. Yes, of course, because from where I started to where I am now, it's a big gap. So yes, it's a dream. Just that as we become bigger, we have bigger dreams, and then then we have more dreams coming. So yes, it's a real thing actually. Yes.
When you were growing up in Cameroon, I imagine that you had ideas about what the United States of America was like. And then you came here and
Mhm,
started your life.
mhm.
What was the difference between what you imagined life would be and what the reality was?
So I knew it was a developed country. I knew it was America. we know what it is because we know it's a developed country and it's a place where you can definitely, I did not fully understand the system, and I knew it was a place where even human rights, I wasn't aware of it so much, but I knew it was far much better place to be. So me just coming here at the age of 17 and coming up from a rural town of Cameroon, a small city, I really never enjoy. So I really, what I'm trying to say is that I became more intelligent in the United States. So most of what I've learned it while being in the United States. Because I was just in a small town of Cameroon. I've never experienced university life before. I've never experienced any type of job before. Never met a lot of friends before. Just people from the same place. So it was basically at. So if there was a difference, what difference should I have expected? I knew that nature was treated more carefully, that I couldn't cut the trees. I knew that it was going to be clean, that I couldn't throw papers on the street. And indeed, it's clean. Yes.
You feel like the nature was important here.
Yeah, I knew that the nature, yes, because you can't just go and cut trees because you are looking for wood, so you can make fire, you can make your fireplace. So, but you know, but you knew, I knew that it was much more controlled. We used to have a joke in Cameroon that when people live abroad and you go to your brother to visit him, when they will be at table eating dinner, they will give you the newspaper to read. So, so we used to
they would give you the newspaper to read.
What they are having dinner, because they did not, you were not part of the dinner plan, so they didn't have an extra plate for you. So I knew a little bit that it was well organized, that it was well organized, and that it was much advanced. So I wasn't so shocked.
Did the cost of living surprise you? Like how expensive it is to rent an apartment or to buy food? Did it seem like it was expensive here?
Oh yeah, extremely expensive. And for modern society, at first I just did not understand. For me, I felt like it was normal because I was a foreigner, so I couldn't get a good job. But I've always asked myself, how do you afford to pay tuition for I mean, at least even $3,000 tuition per year? For me, it's a lot. My tuition per year in Cameroon, if I want to put in equivalent years, that's probably $100. That back then, things are becoming more expensive, but it was extremely expensive. Housing, I remember sharing an apartment or sharing room. At the time, I was not even looking to get my room. I was looking to share a room with somebody. That was true when I left my mom's place. Yes.
A lot of students tell me that their relatives back in their home countries often ask for financial support.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a really challenging thing sometimes because it's so expensive to live here, and they feel like maybe their family back home doesn't fully understand how expensive it is. Have you experienced that? Do you feel like maybe people in your home country don't understand the high cost of living here?
Oh, that's definitely true. And each time I have a new one come, I say, well, now you see, because I added to that, when you would tell them, well, we have to pay bills here. It's not easy. They say, well, if it's not that easy, why are you not coming back? So
I mean, it takes a long time, right? It takes a long time.
Yeah, it takes a long time to settle in and kind of now, and I still do. You can escape it, and I think that it's just the nature of it. I understand that some people could be definitely in the United States, we far more better, but I'm gonna be very careful with that. It depends on the cases. So if I look at my situation now, and my situation when I was in Cameroon, I can say I'm doing far much better. But some people, but it's a two-sided story. You want to help people, but you want people to not only be able to stand for themselves, but you also don't want people to think that you can just give it to them, because some people will be in need regardless on how you help them. So it really depends on how or who is asking and who they, but definitely they will be asking. And they will be asking, even if they already have, even if they are not really in need, they still will be asking. And that's sometimes where the problem is. And
What aspects of Cameroonian culture do you miss?
oh, especially the social aspect is very, I miss it a lot. For example, going back to connect with families and relatives, just be there with them is so touching. The way we speak, the way we interact, the way we go in the market for shopping, what we say to each other, that's I miss all of it. It's not the same way of communicating in the United States. Yes, it's
Is it
not.
hard to get to know American people? Do you find it challenging to get to know Americans? Are they private?
Not so challenging, right? Because the thing is, some of what we think is just the joke. What I will say as a joke, an American will not really understand the perspective of it. I had that challenge where when I would be around my fellows Cameroonian, I would say something and we think it's so funny. But when I say it in front of American, it would be awkward.
I had the same experience when I lived in France. I would tell a joke and they
Uh,
didn't get it. Humor
yes.
doesn't translate very well. I can understand that. Yeah, it's hard. That's a challenging
Yes.
experience.
Uh-huh. And then also is the culture. What we Cameroonian laugh about. Sometimes they are not laughable matter. And then I've come to realize it in the past. Like we will laugh about something, but hey, this is not something to laugh about. This needs to be taken more seriously. This person need help. This person doesn't need to be made to me.
That's
Yes,
interesting.
yes. One of my yes, so I don't know if I can share this story. I used to have a friend, she was from Ukraine, but I think American because she had lived here for a long time. And because of my job was because I used to take care of handicapped people or people that were much older. So, so my friend asked me one day what was my job, and I told her that I was doing security. And this is because I was ashamed to tell her that I was taking care of old people.
Mm.
Yeah, why? Because when you tell it to Cameroonian that oh you are doing this job, they will laugh at you like yes, you're taking care of old people. You you're showering them, and that for them they make fun of you for that. So so it all depends. It's relative.
In Cameroon, I imagine that older people are taken care of by their families.
Correct, correct. Yes, most of the time it's not organized in a way that you could where you can get care if you are extremely wealthy, but most of the time if somebody is old, for example, the grandfather will come and live join the family and then until probably they die. That's how it is.
There's a large Cameroonian community here in Montgomery County.
Mhm.
So, does that help being able to be a part of that community? Is in terms of when you miss aspects of Cameroonian culture, do you still feel like because you have relatives here and a
Mhm.
community that's helpful?
Yes, of course, the community is helpful, but sometimes I'm not just too much involved. My mom and my brothers are definitely a great resource. Sometimes we meet and we have good times. You also have the opportunity to join association for for a cause, and that also is very helpful because you can meet fellows Cameroonian, you can do do many things for fun, and even put the fund together so that if somebody need help, you can, the help is there, they can provide help, something like that. Yes. It's very useful.
Some of my students tell me that they feel like sometimes they're stereotyped by American people, that there are perhaps negative stereotypes about immigrants. Have you experienced that or experienced racism since you've lived here?
Yeah, I mean, racism exists definitely to some extent. Yes, but sometimes I'm very careful to call it racism because I remember that just thinking about it kind of slow you down. So sometimes I think that if you come to somebody with good manner, you can be well received. That's how I'm thinking about it now. But yes, definitely there are some people that we have, they just wouldn't want to interact with you because you have the wrong skin color. So yeah, it does exist. I've experienced it. But I think that it's also depend on how I present myself. So I try to present myself in a much better way to people, or at least don't present myself to them. If I can already kind of, yeah. But yes, it's a very controversial topic, I think so.
It's, I mean, I think in the past 2 years, there's certainly been more attention to Black Lives Matter movement, to problems related to,
Yes, definitely.
police
I have,
brutality, like that.
yes, I have a police, I think I have police officer ask me when I think I went to DC and then I was on my bicycle. I wasn't supposed to be on the bicycle on the sidewalk. We were having that conversation and he asked me what I do. And I told him that I was studying engineering and then he asked me what for. Wait.
What for? He said, what for?
What for?
That's interesting.
So for me, I felt like, well, you're not getting, I don't know, for me, what I got there, like, you're not going to get a good job anyway. Why are you doing even that? So why are you trying to? So I don't know what it means, but then what else? But at least I think that when you go to institution, and one of the things that I've admired is that people that have power, or people that are able to make decisions sometimes are careful about not doing discrimination against people. So I'm very happy about that for now. But I think that we still have a lot of things to do. We still have
Absolutely.
a
There's
lot
a lot of progress to be
yes,
made still, for
yes.
sure.
Uh-huh.
What about the future? What do you hope for if you imagine yourself 5 years from now? What do you hope for your future?
Be married and be a happy father. That's something that I want to. That's first thing, because I think that I've earned more success in, at least in academia. The knowledge, the body of knowledge that I have will not disappear. So I need to start a family. So in 5 years, that will make me the most happy. If I'm successful, is a good father with my children around me, that will make me very happy. What else in terms of career? I want to gain much experience at my work, especially if I've worked for the same place for 5 years. That would definitely mean that I will be, I'll probably getting a management position, or making my area grow. And for me, one of the things that was define my success, especially for my career, is publication. So I'm trying to read more papers, and publish more. So that's what I actually dream of, like improving myself every day to just make better publication. Yes.
I love that writing is part of your goals for the future, like to continue to write and research and publish. Obviously, because I teach writing, it makes me so happy to hear that this is still an important part of your life.
Thank you.
And it just makes me really happy to see how much progress you have made. It warms my heart. Is there anything else that you would like to add today about education or career, or about your goals, or what it's like to be a Cameroonian living in the United States? Anything else you'd like to add to your story?
I don't know who my audience is, but I will just say to everybody in general. So especially you are in Montgomery, you are watching this video because you are a student from Montgomery College. It's just that, like I said in the beginning, there are so much opportunities. Yes, the dream is real. The American dream is real. And sometimes I feel like we are the own master of our destiny. Yes, true, there are several factors that can push us where we don't want to be. But if we are strong mentally, and we always have plan A, plan B. If we are able to plan accordingly, sometimes we can be the master of life, the master of our life. and that's how it should
Like
be.
the poem Invictus, right?
Yes, yes.
The master of our destiny. I like that. You mentioned wanting to be a father someday and have a family. Do you hope to raise your future children bilingually so that they can speak French and English? Is that the goal? Have you thought about that?
Trilingually, because I want, if English is a good language, so they definitely have to learn English. And then because the world is turning around so much, yes, so I mean, they will have to pick. I want them to definitely speak French, but one of the things that I will also promote, and I wish I had more power to do it even in Cameroon, is to have, I mean, I want my kid not just to speak English, but I want to be able to speak to them in my native tongue language.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's something that in Cameroon we don't enforce. So if you, as long as you can speak French and English, you are perfectly fine. But if you could, so I wish I could. My kid probably won't be able to speak because I don't speak well. So my kid probably won't have the chance to speak that. So who knows? Also,
Can you remind me the name of that language?
uh, so it's Bangante
Mm.
for my Bangante, and then there's Bangwa and Bangante Bangwa. Yes.
And you didn't really have the opportunity to learn that, did you?
No, I am not so not. I'm not fluent. I tried my best, but I'm not fluent as I wanted to.
Well, maybe you can go back and spend some time learning that. Because I can see how, and I think we talked about this a little bit last time, when generations don't speak the language of their grandparents
Oh, they died.
or their extended family,
Mhm.
there's a loss of culture.
There's a
Um,
lot. I have a I have a classmate that actually showed me his book, and he is he considers himself one of the master. The one of the good things I have is that uh, the language is disappearing, but at a bad time because technology is helping preservation. Um, People document video on YouTube where they're talking about the native language, for example, and the movie of Nazareth, Jesus of Nazareth, people have translated it into those native language as well. The prayers, the Catholic prayers, people have translated them. So it's a bad time for the disappearance because they are technology for preservation. And hopefully those can actually not make those language vanish.
yes, a lot of languages are disappearing because of the legacy of colonialism and you know we speak English and French, and there's a reason for that, right?
There's a reason for that,
About
yes.
history.
Mm-hmm.
I really like what you said about trying to have about your hopes to share that with your future children. I hope that you can do that. Is there any other, when you think about the idea of having a family someday, what are some important values from your culture that are important for you to teach to your children?
You okay, the value of respect, value of respect, but I don't know if for us if it was mainly respect or submission. So I grew up in a in an environment that parents could beat children. So I don't want them to know that, but I wish they could respect their elders. And that's the most that's the most advice that my father has emphasized to me a lot. Because I think during my course of my study, sometimes you see some wrongdoing, and the person doing wrong is older than you, but you really just can't correct him because he's older than you.
Interesting.
Um, and then sometimes that's problematic. So if I just wish is to uh, my children to have a good spirit of distinction, to just know what is good and what is bad, and sometimes to know how to accept other people the way they are and just be positive. You can live with people, but you don't have to live the way they want you to be, and you don't have to be with person that make you feel uncomfortable. So sometimes don't break away from people, but just understand that people might have different perspective of life than you have. So I know that they will not benefit 100%. They won't have, especially if I raise them here, they won't have 100% of my heritage. When they go to school, they will meet a teacher, they will meet classmates, then they will have an encounter with an external world, something that's not coming from me. I will have probably less time with them. So like my advisor told me one day, Franklin, when you have kids, you plan A, B, C, G for them, and what they do is X, Y, Z. So so I'm just praying, I'm just hoping that God will give me the strength to be a good father. That's all I could ask. And what can they have from Cameroon? If they can speak the language, that will be fine. If they know how to eat the food also, it will be great. Because most of the people that are here, that was born here, they eat vegetables. They only have down select food that they can eat. So well, and then if they have the love of a hometown, if they are happy to go on vacation sometime for me, I will be happy to.
I love that. That was a really beautiful way to express your hopes for the future and for your future family. And maybe your kids will someday go to Montgomery College too. That would be
Yes,
wonderful.
definitely. Definitely, I'm trying to give back to Montgomery College. If I'm still in Maryland, very likely I will be. Especially if I buy a house, I want to buy my house in the area. I like Montgomery County a lot, so definitely I see that happening actually. Because 2 years of community college, 2 years of community college is definitely less expensive than a four-year institution. So yes.
Well, I would just like to say that I was so happy when you reached out to tell me that you earned your PhD. It meant a lot to me that you did that, and I'm really glad that we had the chance to have these conversations. How are you feeling about sharing your story? What emotions are you feeling right now?
Oh, it's so happy, right? So happy that people will be able to know who I am. People will, I mean, I can inspire other people. I'm so happy that at least, happy that I'm completed my degree. I'm glad that you have liked the fact that I came back to you. And because I'm going to be, out there, people are going to know me more. I'm also a little bit happy for that.
I agree. I agree. Well, thank you so much. I was going to say Franklin, Dr. Nouketcha. I am very, very happy that we had a chance to continue our conversation. And I'm going to stop recording now.
Thank you.